In November of 2024, I had a realisation. I was in London, living a pretty typical UK graduate life. Job in software, 9 to 6, hybrid work, office with a coffee machine. I'm sure you know the one. I'd moved to London because that's where ambition is, and decisions are made. As a young, middle-class Brit with a science degree, I was naturally concerned about the climate and wanted to find ways to contribute to turning it around, it being whatever it is we're doing to the planet. In the day I worked my 9 to 6, and in the evening I explored the scenes of those trying to make a difference. Activist networks, guerrilla gardening groups, a house in Bethnal Green full of political technologists and AI safety lobbyists. I don't know why it hit me in November, but I suddenly thought, what if we can't turn it around? What if we're destined for collapse? The natural follow-on from this is obviously, I think I'd better learn how to be a farmer. I had enough money saved to quit my job, so I did. I packed up my belongings into airtight boxes, stashed the boxes in my dad's garage, and set off for West Wales. Since getting here, I've been volunteering on homesteads and organic farms. I wanted to be amongst people with a similar perspective, those who have successfully untangled their lives from the world of supply chains, next day delivery, going out on the weekend and elf bars. I'm here to learn from those people ahead of me, who have already made the leap forward and found a way to escape the city, living in closer contact with nature and the basics of life. The interviews that follow are their stories. Why have they felt the need to uproot their lives and begin again in rural Wales? Where did the desire to move come from? How did they actually pull through and do it? The first of these is Al. Al moved out to West Wales from Brighton with his wife and 2 children in early 2024. Alongside working full-time jobs, they're in the process of setting up a market garden at their new 11-acre smallholding, where they hope to grow vegetables to supply to local schools. Here we are, Al.
Hi.
Sat in your new market garden, or the beginnings of it?
We are sat in West Wales and... Cheers.
Just pointing at your mouth.
And yeah, West Wales, and this is the beginnings of a kitchen garden, which is a precursor to us growing hopefully a market garden over there. That's the plan.
Nice. Sweet. So I wanted to talk to you about your journey to being a market gardener, because you haven't always been a market gardener. Should say market garden is kind of your little farm that the kind of garden that would grow veg to go in a veg box, right?
Spot on. Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted you to run through the story of what were you doing before the market garden dream became a thing, before you moved out to Wales. What was your life like, and what was the process of coming to this dream like, or this life like, I guess? It's more than a dream, isn't it? You're here.
Yeah. So, wow, it's been a bit of a journey. Probably started about 5 years ago when we lived down in Brighton and Hove, maybe even before that. But yeah, that was the real, I suppose, turning point. We got 2 kids, we were living there and happily just existing. And we call it BC, which was before climate change. And we had a bit of an epiphany where we looked and started watching films about what's going on in the world. We were kind of blissfully ignorant of it all, what was going on with climate change, biodiversity, the pollution in the rivers. We just didn't really concentrate on it or think it was a big deal. And we just had this explosive moment where through a few documentaries it became very real for us. And we were kind of in a spiral of, oh my God, what do we do? This is crazy. The food we're eating is pretty poisoned from the supermarket, and there's a lot of biodiversity collapsing around the world. What the hell do we do? And Tess, the legend, found a biodynamic market garden in Brighton called Fork and Dig It, and they did a training course every Friday for a year, about how to grow veg and maybe even set up a market garden. And that for us, and it's Jules and Andy who run it, and huge love to those guys. And it was through that we decided this can be our thing, we want to go and grow and produce food in a real sympathetic, gentle on the land way, organically, and teach our kids that and hopefully provide food for the community. And so, yeah, that kind of whole package of thinking and all those things added up to us moving here, because this felt like this nice space, beautiful place, great people around, and here we are.
So you kind of have your realisation of you kind of, oh shit, this is a pretty bad moment, and then finding a way through and being able to dip your toe in, I guess, before you move sounds like something pretty valuable, like being able to make that first move that's not huge.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if there isn't a better way of doing it, really, I think we were really fortunate to have had that experience on the Fork and Digget Market Garden. We got to really see what it was like to do this work and see the finances behind it, see the amount of labour it takes, because they weren't mechanised, they were all by hand, no inputs, really hard graft. And
What does that mean, no inputs?
Yeah, no inputs means, well, there's lots of inputs, but I should have said no synthetic inputs, so no inputs from chemical fertilisers or man-made kind of products, which, we're beginning to find out now how bad they are for the environment.
Yeah. So you've done that, you've got your idea of a market garden, and you've got an idea of how you want to approach it and how you can actually do it and see behind the scenes. Right? How do you go from that to then moving your family with your 2 kids out to where we are now in West Wales? What does that... Why, first of all, and what were you looking out for? And yeah, what do you think? What was the moment that you said, yeah, we're going to do this?
Yeah, there's a lot to that one. So, firstly, the place. I think we looked up and down the country. We looked at Scotland. We even looked at Portugal. We looked south of England, middle of England, east of England, and we figured out this was probably it's beautiful. It's got mountains, it's got coast, got friendly people, really nice culture, a lot of heritage in the Welsh community, and hopefully we can we can kind of become part of that. So we felt it would be a really safe place for our kids. We thought it'd be a really good place to raise children. So that was the first thing, is this is just a beautiful place. And also then the financial side, we could afford to buy here. We could afford to, steward this land, we're really grateful for that opportunity. And yes, I think it was a few factors, but we've also been a really difficult decision, because we've but we've moved quite far away from family, who are, now 4 or 5 hours away. So that's quite a big thing to have done, and it weighs on our minds every day. And so, we make decisions. They're not always perfect, but you have to make a decision. And this, for us, in our context now, this is the right decision. So here we are.
5 years' time, what do you think it's going to look like here? It was 3 months now you moved in, right?
Yeah, so 3 months in, and 5 years from now, I'm pointing over here, you can't quite see it off camera, but there's a few fields over there which we're going to hopefully transform over the next couple of years from pasture, where they've had sheep grazing permanently for probably 30 plus years. And we're going to put some green manures in, we're going to put some beds in, some polytunnels, and we're hopefully going to create a functioning and commercially viable, I won't say hopefully, we will put in a commercially viable, successful market garden, which can be accessible to the community for people who want to come and chill out here, have some safe place to be. I'd love this to be a vibrant, accessible place for people to be and use. And it's not just for us, we want it to be accessible to make us a living, maybe make someone else a living who wants to come and work here, and just be a place where we can increase or help nature recover a little bit, and this can be a place for nature to be as well. So that's a big focus for us, is biodiversity, create healthy food and create an income, which is a viable business.
That sounds lovely. Which is almost your surname.
And today we think we might have just come up with a name thanks to Ross's input as well. It might be Lovely Veg. Yeah. It works.
Yeah. I want to know about like the people back in Brighton. You mentioned your family, but like your circles of friends as well. Like, what do they think about what you're up to? Like, yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of perspectives, isn't there? But do people get it, or are they confused, or what's that kind of mix like?
That's a very good point. And I think it's a really mixed bag. Some people are very inquisitive and really want to dive into the detail. And loads of people have got loads going on. We're not special. We're just giving something a go. But yeah, some people are inquisitive and want to know what it's about. And I think other people think we're absolutely mentally lost the plot. And think we've moved too far away from family, and so it's a bit of a mixed bag. And I think some people are. I don't want to be negative here, but I think maybe some people haven't quite seen the impact human race is having on the environment, and maybe unaware at the moment about how the food we eat has a massive impact on the environment. And that we as consumers, we should be called citizens. We aren't consumers, we're all citizens. We should take it upon ourselves to know where our food's coming from and really play a part in eating where you can locally, but certainly organically, and without the kind of impact we're having on the environment. So a lot of people, I think, in our friendship circles maybe haven't come to that realisation yet, and that's fine. That's my view, but hopefully by what we're doing we can set an example. And that was one of the big decision points for us, was you can talk the talk and you can go on protests and you can try and raise awareness, but maybe by doing this is a bit of activism. We can show there's another way, and we thought that would be a great, it's better to do the doing. And maybe people will see it and go, oh yeah, I like the look of that. And then that might inspire others. Because I hate preaching. I hate it.
Sweet. That's all pretty good. You mentioned documentaries earlier. If there was someone who was watching who doesn't understand why someone would want to move away from a city like Brighton to come to West Wales, what documentary would you recommend if you had to prescribe a documentary for people to go out and watch? It's close to preaching almost, isn't it? But
No, I would suggest, these are all pretty mainstream, and that's great. There's What Your Food Ate, I think, is one on Netflix. Cowspiracy, Seaspiracy. Those are really accessible documentaries. And in fact, something I've not said is animal welfare is a huge motivator for us. I think once we woke up to how pigs are housed and how chickens are housed, and just that animal agriculture business is just absolutely crazy. So I think I just encourage people to kind of be critical in your thinking. Don't, I could tell you the podcasts and the books and everything I've read, but get out there and have a look. Dive into the subjects, don't be put off, really peel back the layers and have a look beneath the surface, because the world is doing a really good job of covering it up for commercial gains of companies. So yeah, so those two, and then Wendell Berry as someone who inspired us. Andy Cato and the work he's doing, I think is a really good. He's a Groove Armada DJ turned farmer, and he's been knighted in France for the organic work he's been doing. So I think he's been a real motivator. And Charles Dowding as a no-dig gardener. So yeah, and Chris Harbour. I mean, he's on YouTube. So I think there's lots of inspiring people out there. They're all men. There's lots of Jules from Fork and Dig It. So yeah, I think those are a few names I've given there.
Nice. Sweet. I think that's about us. Cheers. I shake your hand, but we're about to keep on gardening together. It doesn't really make much odds, but sweet. Lush. Nice.
Sweet.
How'd you find that?
Yeah. Yeah, fine. Thanks. Yeah, it was alright. Yeah, good.